Welcome to this story of St Columba. The church remembers St Columba on the 9th of June each year. The name Columba means the dove, and people used to say that Columba had the face of an angel, but he wasn't always kind and loving to people. When Columba was a young man, he was a monk. He and the other monks made beautiful books with handwriting and coloured intricate pictures. Columba loved books. One day he decided to make a copy of a book and to keep it for himself. The book he copied belonged to Finian, and Finian found out about Columba's secret copy, and he took the dispute to the High King of Ireland. The king said, "To every cow its calf, and to every book its copy." So Columba had to give the copy he had made to Finian. Now Columba grew very angry, and he started a war against the High King of Ireland, and many people were killed. Now Columba loved books, but he also loved people. How could so many people be killed, all because of a book? Columba was very sorry, and he decided that he must spend the rest of his life telling people about the love and forgiveness of God and helping people to understand about the dangers of anger. So Columba went with 12 friends in tiny boats, and they left Ireland and travelled across the sea to a small island off the west coast of Scotland. And they made it their new home. This island was called Iona, and King Brude of Scotland could see that Columba was a good man, and so he gave this island to Columba and his friends. The island is 3 miles from top to bottom and 1 mile from side to side. So on the island of Iona, Columba and his monks built a small church, and they lived in tiny huts around the church, and they farmed the land, and they fished in the sea, and they kept animals for food and clothes, and they made books, beautiful books with intricate coloured pictures and handwriting. And they travelled. They travelled all around the west side of Scotland. They set up other communities like theirs on other islands. And everywhere they went, they told people about the love and forgiveness of God, and they helped people to understand about the danger of anger. Columba lived on the island of Iona for 34 years. And many people came to the island to pray and ask the monks to pray with them. When King Conall of Scotland died, the people of Scotland asked Columba to choose their new king. He chose Aidan, who was a Christian, and King Aidan was a good king. One day, when Columba was very old, he was copying Psalm 34, verse 10. "Those who seek the Lord lack no good thing." Then he laid down his pen and said, "Here I must stop." And the next day he died. But we remember Columba because he loved books and he loved people for God. And many people came to know about the love and forgiveness of God and to understand about the danger of anger because of Columba. Let's see how Columba's story fits in with the story of the people of God and of you and me. If we start our story 5,000 years ago, when the pyramids in Egypt were built, and the people in the north part of Scotland on the islands of Orkney were living in small houses with grass roofs that you can still go and visit today. And 1,000 years later, we have Abraham, who was standing at the door of his tent when 3 strangers came and told him of God's promise
that Abraham and his wife Sarah would be the mother and father of a great family, whose numbers would be as many as the stars in the sky and the grains of sand in the desert. Abraham and Sarah's family grew and grew, but they became slaves in the country of Egypt. And Moses was looking after his father-in-law's sheep, and out of the corner of his eye he saw a bush that seemed to be on fire. He heard God speaking to him out of the bush, saying, "Lead my people to freedom." And Moses led the people of God to freedom into the desert and to the promised land, where they built their temple. But then the temple and the city of Jerusalem was attacked, and once more the people were out in the desert, wondering if they would ever see their city again. After a long time, some of them were allowed to go back, and they started to rebuild the temple in Jerusalem. And then that man Jesus was born, the one that we call the light of the world. People listened to what he had to say, watched what he did, and learnt so much more about God because of him. One of those people was St Martin of Tours, and St Martin's cross stands on Iona today, and you can still go and see it. There was Columba and his friends that we've heard about in their small boats arriving on the island of Iona. And then there were the Vikings who came and attacked Columba's monastery and destroyed some of the things there. So the Book of Kells, which was made on Iona, was taken away by the monks to Ireland, where you can still see it in Dublin today. There was the first book written in English by a woman, Julian of Norwich. She too had much to teach us about the love and forgiveness of God. Many people had to leave Iona when the potato famine meant that there was no food for them to eat. And then in 1939, some people came together to start to rebuild some of the ruins on Iona. And in working together, in worshipping together, so the Iona community was formed and is still going and still working on Iona today. And as we finish our daily office in the community, we say, in work and in worship, God is with us.